say that Sergey just had a heart arrhythmia. What do I do? It takes me 20 minutes to hear you say that. So you're going to have to be autonomous. You're going to have to take care of that yourself. So number one, I think that we must have a physician. That's part of every crew that goes to Mars. And number two, we need to exploit some of the artificial intelligence capability that we have in Canada to develop automated systems that can guide the Mars astronauts to care for their ill crewmates and to help deliver the health care that's required. Again, I'm a child of the 60s and the 70s. There was a famous movie back then called 2001: A Space Odyssey. The artificial intelligence entity in that movie was called HAL 9000. And HAL 9000 was responsible for overseeing and running all of the spacecraft complex vehicle systems on behalf of the astronauts. And in fact, some of the astronauts were in hibernation, so HAL 9000 oversaw the healthcare of the hibernating astronauts. I think that in years to come, when we go to Mars, we will have artificial intelligence systems like HAL 9000 or R2-D2 or C-3PO that will work in a complementary fashion with the astronauts to deliver healthcare and then to run the habitat or the spacecraft as well. Now, having said that, can you think of one other environment that is harsh and remote? Northern Canada. The Canada Healthcare Act says that all Canadians deserve equal access to healthcare resources and equal standards of healthcare. Well, if you live in an urban city, if you live in Vancouver or Winnipeg or Toronto, that's true. If you live in Resolute or Cambridge Bay or Iqaluit or Pangnirtung, that's not true. And the healthcare and the health outcomes of Northern Canadians, remote Canadians, is substandard. So some of these same approaches, same models, same technologies that we need to deliver healthcare to astronauts who are in the inner solar system on Mars can be mobilized and used to improve healthcare to Canadians living in remote regions of Canada. They deserve it. And this is one area, one classic area where investment in space technology and medicine can reap terrestrial benefits for us here.
You said your dad was a dreamer. What legacy did he leave you? Now you're going to make me cry.
Why'd you ask that?
That was beautiful.
So when I was young, my father always said, anything worth doing is worth doing well. So what that means practically is that if my neighbor asked me to wash his car and I washed it and I left a streak of dirt on it because I didn't notice it, my father would say, any job worth doing is worth doing well. If you wash a car, make it clean all over. So that's one thing that, to be a good astronaut, you have to be a little bit OCD. And in other words, you don't do a job unless you're going to do it very well. You have to pay attention to detail. Often in space, you only have one chance to do something right. Because of the timeline, because of orbital mechanics, often you have only one chance to do an operation right. So it has to be done correctly the first time. The other thing that he said was that with privilege comes responsibility. And we're middle-class Canadians, but we had a pretty good life, and we went on nice vacations, and we had a boat, and we had a good standard of living. He'd always say, with privilege comes responsibility. So one of the things I do today, even though I'm retired as an astronaut, I go back into the schoolrooms, and I encourage the current generation, to dream audacious dreams and to take on near impossible challenges. I have a responsibility, and in fact, I think all professionals have a responsibility to spend a half day, a full day each year getting into the classrooms and inspiring the next generation. With privilege comes a responsibility. We cannot take the good fortune, the quality of jobs that we have in life for granted. We have a responsibility to make our world a better place.
Thank you. Anything else? Is there anything?
Mikey's got
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's been driving me crazy. You said it takes 2 days to go to the space station from your launch in Russia. Are you strapped into that seat for 2 days?
So two things. Number one, for the first 20 years, we spent 2 days because the space station's up at 400 kilometers. We launch into space in a Soyuz vehicle, and I'm embarrassed to say that once we launch into space in Soyuz, we don't know where we are. So we do a pass around the Earth, and the ground-based radars figure out where we are, and then give us the math equations that we can fire our rocket to raise our orbit up to that of the station, and then move in for the rendezvous and the docking. Thanks to improved communication abilities, the Russians can now do this in 6 hours.
Wow.
But it's the same process. You do these strategic engine firings. The Soyuz vehicle, it's 2.1 meters across. And there's 3 of us there that are strapped in, and we're strapped in like that. So yeah, whenever we're doing engine operations, which is most of the 2 days, we're sitting here like this. So when we finally dock with the station, we open up the hatch, you move into this huge environment. It's relief for our legs and relief for us. The exceptions would be when we sleep. There is another compartment just above what we call the descent module, where we can go to sleep at night.
There is?
And if yeah. So
Okay.
we can do that, so that we spend one night on orbit. Yeah.
So you can stretch out. Because I often
Yep.
wondered what would that be like to be confined to that little space.
Yeah. So part of the selection criteria, part of the I didn't mention it when you were asking about the cuts during selection, is claustrophobia test. So yeah, if you're claustrophobic, you can't be an astronaut.
Wow.
So then getting back to Earth, it's a dry landing, isn't it, rather than in the ocean?
Yeah, yeah. So it takes once we undock from the station in the very same vehicle that we launched in, a Soyuz vehicle, and after we undock, we're on the ground in 3.5 hours. So we do one orbit around the Earth, 90 minutes, to do all the vehicle checkouts, and then to load the computer with the engine fire parameters. Then at the start of the second orbit, we start the process to return home. We fire the main engine in the direction of flight for 4.5 minutes, and that has the effect of changing our orbit from a circular orbit around the Earth to an elliptical one. And now the bottom part of the ellipse passes through the Earth's atmosphere, and once the Earth's atmosphere's got you, you're coming home. Yeah, so it's a wild show. It's think if you ever did Space Mountain at Disney World, it's 10 times better than that. You get thrown all over the place. It's like going over Niagara Falls in a barrel, but a barrel that's on fire. And it's, there's a couple points during the descent where I thought I was going to die. But I looked over at my crewmates and said, no, everything's fine.
I think of the early explorers that were selected by the fur trade companies, Hudson Bay, whatnot, and they went to the Orkney Islands because there had to be a physical component to these men who were piloting and the voyageurs. They had to have physical, they had to have short legs, so there could be lots of room for cargo,
Oh,
and
really?
strong barrel chests and strong upper bodies to paddle
Right.
the canoes. So I'm thinking of, you talk of the physical requirements, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking of that other example in history.
Well, a lot of young people ask me what you need, what qualification you need to apply to be an astronaut. And certainly they're foremost in their minds is the academic, but the physical aspects are important.
Yeah.
You have to be in good health, but you also have to be in good shape,
Yeah,
because there could be emergency situations aboard a spacecraft where you need to bail out of your spacecraft and take a couple of unconscious crewmates with you as well. So you need some brute force and aerobic conditioning as well. So I'm finding a lot of, when I was complaining about young people today, I find that we're neglecting the physical training of the physical education of young people. I'm very sorry that a lot of high schools no longer require physical education as part of the curriculum. That's not the right way to go.
no. Okay.
Is
Is it a
there
wrap?
anything else you wanted to say? No?
No.
Thank you so much.
That was
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
We are
Yeah.